Ever imagined a city where there are no roads, cars, or emissions? A city that prioritizes nature and runs purely on 100% renewable energy? This is exactly what the Line project is promising. Right in the heart of the Arabian Desert, the Saudis are plotting a futuristic city that would solve major problems existing traditional cities and nations are battling with. Join us as we delve into the ambitious Line project, which aims at building a 200-meter wide urban city with minimal infrastructure requirements. The Line project is an unreal solution to most of mankind's problems. From global warming to climate change and even exploitation of nature, this project could bypass them all. This ambitious undertaking by the Saudi Arabian government is trying to redevelop the nation's urban infrastructure and reduce its dependency on the oil-based economy. It basically aims to build a city that is completely free of industrial waste. The Line project encompasses a 200-meter wide urban expanse, carefully designed with the smallest infrastructure possible. It would cut through the vast Arabian Desert and the imposing Hijaz mountain range, featuring two colossal mirrored facades that would rise to an impressive height of 500 meters and extend over a staggering 170 kilometers to connect the Red Sea to the Tabuk Province. And this project isn't a standalone project. It's part of the Project NEOM and is only the inaugural phase of it. The Project NEOM itself is a promising monumental $500 billion real estate endeavor that lies at the heart of something called the Kingdom Vision 2030 Initiative, which is the government program launched by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that aims to attain increased diversification economically, socially, and culturally. So, if the first phase of this huge initiative of the Saudi government, which is the Line project, pulls through, the country would become very much less dependent on their oil economy. To add to that, there would be more influx of immigrants who long to live in a more human-oriented environment. And ultimately, the entire environment will be impacted for good with the climate and natural disasters controlled to the bare minimum. Yet, what makes this grand project worthwhile? Well, this project is highly significant because it makes a turning point in Saudi Arabia's architecture culture. The Line by NEOM is defiant of the traditional architectural norms of Saudi Arabia, which have been in place since the 60s. The project marks the continuation of Saudi Arabia's urban development, which began in the 1980s, around the same time Western postmodern architectural designs were rising. And structures like the Saudi National Commercial Bank, completed in 1983, mark the beginning of that iconic era of their urban development. The era further strengthened in 2005 when Saudi Arabia joined the World Trade Organization in 2005 and strengthened its global position. And since then, the kingdom has opened their doors to foreign direct and indirect investments in alternative markets such as real estate. And the Line project marks the beginning of this era. It represents a continuation of Saudi Arabia's postmodern architectural philosophy, but with a greater experimentation of structural and social functionality. It also embodies how important and integral real estate is in the nation's diversification strategy. With this project, it is believed Western investors and developers will be attracted to the country, thereby causing a massive rise in their tourism industry. The prince himself, Prince Mohammed, is the forerunner of this project. During the Project NEOM conference dedicated to the Line, he endorsed the concept of vertically layered communities as a groundbreaking urban development approach. Also, he criticized the conventional horizontal cities for their susceptibility to logistical problems, urban sprawl, and environmental degradation. He emphasized that the Line is going to serve as a role model for preserving nature, promoting sustainability, and enhancing the quality of life of its inhabitants. Essentially, a solution to every existing problem in the world. Funding has been secured and the project commenced the structural foundation excavation in August 2023. Interestingly, the funding for the entire project has also been secured with a substantial sum of $319 billion in funds from the country's Public Investment Fund, PIF. And this fund serves as the country's sovereign wealth fund, which comprises most funds from foreign reserves and the country's bank reserves. Saudi was able to accumulate this much by benefiting significantly from its massive oil reserves over the last few decades, which has brought in much revenue. The nation has allocated $1.1 trillion in funds to real estate development projects like Project NEOM. And in addition to the already secured $319 billion in domestic funding, the PIF has initiated several international investment partnerships, such as the strategic partnership with BlackRock to anchor the firm's Middle East infrastructure strategy in Saudi Arabia. This robust investment framework is expected to strengthen the nation's economic diversification and contribute to the PIF's goal of reaching $1 trillion in assets by 2025. However, for a project like this, which sounds too good to be true, it is often too good to be true. The city is expected to have a population density 10 times that of Manhattan, accommodating around 9 million residents and surpassing that of any other city in Saudi Arabia. And this exceptionally high population density is causing concerns about mobility and efficiency. It is argued that a linear city such as the Line is the least efficient urban shape, as historically, cities have taken mostly rounded forms. And these doubts are very valid because in layout for the Line, two randomly chosen individuals would, on average, be 57 kilometers apart. In contrast to a much larger city like Johannesburg, the average distance between two random residents is only a 33-kilometer difference. With a 1-kilometer walking distance considered, only 1.2% of the population can reach each other on foot, which now makes public transportation a necessity. And the backbone of the city's public transportation is questionable. It is planned to be a high-speed rail network, which would require at least 86 stations for everyone to be within walking distance of a station, according to researchers. As a result, the average trip duration in the Line is estimated to be 60 minutes, with at least 47% of the population facing even longer commutes. The public transportation problem challenges the initial concept of a city where everything is supposedly within a 5-minute distance as not feasible due to the linear design. Surprisingly, despite the drawbacks, other cities in the world are also copying this concept. In Japan, Bjarke Ingels Group introduced the Woven City as a city envisioning a fully autonomous future with driverless vehicles and integrated AI systems. Egypt has also followed suit and is developing a smart city near Cairo, and Tolosa is a utopian American city vision. And while these projects are all unreal, they all share the same goals to address the issues of modern cities by enhancing accessibility and efficiency. However, in recent history, there have been cautionary tales of many grand-scale projects around the world that ended in failure. An example is found in Dubai, where the Nakheel Harbor and Tower development, originally estimated to cost $38 billion, was canceled 6 years after its proposal due to the global economic downturn in 2009. This project became a victim of the financial crisis that swept the world and led to its abandonment. Similarly, in China, the government invested over $1 billion in the construction of Kangbashi, an Inner Mongolian city. The vision was to create a bustling metropolis housing more than 1 million residents. However, by 2016, Kangbashi was a stark contrast to its grand plan, with just 10% of the projected population calling it home. It became a symbol of overambitious urban development and faced the challenge of even attracting inhabitants to a city built on such an extravagant scale. This phenomenon of cities falling short of their intended population is not unique to Kangbashi and has also been observed in other costly projects, like the Yujupu Financial District in Tianjin, China, and Naypyidaw, the capital of Myanmar, where the expectations of rapid urbanization did not happen as planned. For North Korea, their ambitious development endeavor took the form of the Ryugyong Hotel, intended to be the tallest hotel globally when it was slated to open in the capital, Pyongyang, back in 1989. However, this structure earned the rather ominous name Hotel of Doom. And the reason behind this nickname was the fact that construction was never completed, leaving it as the world's tallest unoccupied building as of 2019. These stories of failed super projects highlight the importance of thorough planning, financial stability, and the alignment of objectives with reality in ambitious development endeavors. They serve as cautionary tales, demonstrating the need for a carefully crafted approach and adaptability in the world of megaprojects, where the stakes are often incredibly high and success is never guaranteed. From an economic angle, Saudi Arabia has channeled substantial funds into the kingdom's public investment fund to finance Phase 1 of Project NEOM, or the Line. However, completing this project will present many challenges, and most prominent obstacle might be future funding shortages and unforeseen contingency costs. A cautionary example is the King Abdullah Economic City development along the Saudi Red Sea coast, initially backed by a $100 billion budget. Unfortunately, security vulnerabilities in the past decade allowed money laundering activities involving politicians and intermediaries. This led to increased political turmoil and investment uncertainty. Since the initial construction phase, which included the Jeddah Tower in 2013, the project has stalled as key backers faced imprisonment during Prince Mohammed bin Salman's anti-corruption purges. In addition to security concerns, when a comparative analysis was conducted of similarly massive projects, it was discovered that the line's total cost could soar to an astonishing $1 trillion, potentially delaying its completion until 2050 as opposed to the 2030 finishing plan. Given the volatile nature of the oil export market, additional project funding may come from steep tax increases and cuts to social benefits, diverting resources away from long-term improvements in domestic living standards and real GDP growth. There are also other technical and social challenges to consider. The influx of foreign workers, particularly in engineering roles, to Saudi Arabia poses a hurdle to the goal of developing domestic technical expertise. This over-reliance on foreign skilled labor for infrastructure expansion could hinder the mobilization of the local workforce, ultimately leading to unsustainable economic growth. The line project has already faced its first challenge, which was the death of Abdul Rahim al-Houiti in 2020 at the hands of Saudi police. It drew international attention to human rights violations in the kingdom. Abdul, an indigenous resident of the Huaytat tribe, refused to surrender his property in the Tabuk region for Project NEOM and criticized the government's role in the line's construction. His case is just one of many persecutions, as currently around 20,000 members of the Huaytat tribe are facing eviction due to the line's development. These human rights concerns, both in labor practices and social welfare, reduces the line's appeal on the international stage as a sustainable project. However, if despite the challenges it pulls through, it would be the first of its kind to ever exist, and it would surely lead to a heavy boom in the Saudi Arabian economy. But what do you think of the project? Would it deliver all it has promised despite the numerous challenges it is facing?